Good evening and welcome to Mental Health Matters with me, Dr Audrey Tang. I know it's 4 a.m. in the UK, so we're here to keep you company and we cover all things mental health and well-being. We've got a very special show on for you tonight. We have motivational speaker and poet Carl Peach. He lost his sight in May 2023, but he has gone on to inspire others. Let's have a look at him in action.
People have said to me, "It must be terrible you're losing your sight." I answer, it's not terrible, it's just different. I've had a challenging life, having overcome a soul-destroying gambling addiction and decades of self-hatred. I'm now learning to live with sight loss. Losing my sight in 2023 was devastating, yet it proved a turning point. It forced me to change my priorities, seek inner strength, and find new ways to contribute to the world. I've learned that no obstacle is insurmountable, given the right mindset. Eventually, it cost me my marriage, a house, and every shred of self-esteem that I had. And how do you recover from that? My talks aren't just about me. They're about things we can all do to improve our lives, regardless of our situation. Adversity doesn't define us. Our response to it does. And I'm not sure what she said to me, but June the 12th, 2017, the day I met her, was the last day that I gambled. There were so many things more exquisite, delightful and fulfilling. Whether we're facing personal struggles, professional setbacks, or life-changing events, we can all choose to rise and conquer. There were about 70 odd people in the room, and unprepared I stood up and started speaking. And then all of a sudden I said, I'm going to walk 10 million steps to raise money for your organisation. Received a round of applause, and then turned round to see who'd offered to walk all those steps. It was me. What on earth did I let myself in for?
I learnt a lot more about him. I thought, I've been friends with Carl for quite a few years now, but I feel tonight he really opened his heart up to everybody. There's more to the man than I thought there was, knowing him as a friend. I feel I've seen another side to Carl tonight.
So, Carl Peach, blown away as usual. What a man, what a story, what a speaker, and just so eloquent. The depth that he conveyed tonight, incredible, so moving. Thank you, Carl Peach. Thank you.
Welcome to Mental Health Matters, Carl. It's great to have you in the studio.
Thank you, Audrey.
Well, let's just dive straight in. How did you come to doing what you're doing?
Let me take you back to the beginning, which is probably May 23. Prior to that date, I had my own marketing consultancy, and I did notice at the time that my site had started to fail just a little bit. I was playing an online chess app, and I noticed there were some little black dots on the squares that I didn't recognise as chess pieces. And then some of the print on the screen on my PC wasn't quite as distinct. And it was only when I had my first eye test and they asked me to read the letters, I could see none of the letters from my right eye.
Oh my gosh.
And over the period of the next 3 to 4 months, my sight deteriorated very rapidly. And I ended up in Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham in August 23, just after my daughter's wedding.
Oh.
And that's when I got the diagnosis of Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, which is a degenerative condition of the optic nerve. And there's no treatment or cure.
Oh,
I don't know whether I will lose my sight completely, but it's been stable for several months now. So I'm optimistic. And whilst I lay in my hospital bed, I figured, what am I going to do now? And it wasn't a case of, can I do this? It's a case of, how can I do this? And I decided that I was going to aim to do everything I did before in terms of creative writing. Obviously, running a marketing consultancy and building websites and blogging more of a problem. So I decided to move towards a career as an inspirational, motivational speaker.
Oh my goodness, that's so transformational.
Yeah, it really is.
Thank you.
I mean, sorry, I know this isn't one of the questions on here, but this is just for our viewers, because I know a lot about the wet macular degeneration from diabetes.
Yes.
We don't know a lot about this condition that you have, and that it comes on so suddenly, and how we recognise it.
Okay, it's unusual. Most men get it in their 20s and 30s, and it is mainly men. It's passed down the maternal line.
Oh goodness.
And it's probably 70 or 80% men that get the. It's a disease. It's to do with the mitochondria. It's a misprint in the mitochondria. That's how the genetics unit at Oxford described it to me.
Okay.
And yeah, for me to get it in my late 50s is quite unusual. Normally, if you've got to your late 50s, you've escaped it.
And that's a difficult place as well, because this transformation that you've had to go through, which you probably weren't expecting to go through anyway, and then it's not only dealing with your eyesight, but dealing with the fact that you were making websites, you were blogging, you were doing all of this using your eyes. So how did the writing and the poetry and the creative stuff help you with your mental health at that time?
Immensely. I wrote my first poem without sight in my hospital bed.
Oh gosh.
Our mutual friend Kezabel helped me. She was on the other end of a phone, and I'd write a few lines, and I'd dictate them in the phone to her, and then we'd make some edits on the fly. And after a day and a half, I'd written my first 32-line poem called The Beast, which was my first poem, and that was distinct from scrawling over a notepad and putting arrows and just a messy book, and then condensing it into a pristine poem. I did it the other way around, so I construct it with a strong visual image, and then one line at a time, with a tighter metre and rhyme structure.
Oh wow.
My goodness.
It's sending shivers down my
It
spine.
is.
Just that process, and also
Yes.
the fact that Kezabel helped you as well. Like, that's amazing.
That process, I think
Yes,
that's the thing.
it's
It's
the
so
process.
mindful, isn't it?
Yes.
In many ways, it gets you focused on something else other than, I guess, everything else you're having to go through at the time.
Yeah.
I can endorse the transformative power of poetry, because I used poetry as a means of catharsis throughout the last 10, 15 years of my adult life, to help me through the breakup of my marriage, a gambling addiction, and various other traumas, I suppose. And writing has been instrumental in me overcoming those things.
Gosh, so you already knew the power of poetry for you.
Yes.
And then you were able to instigate that almost straight away from your hospital bed. That's what's giving shivers. Yeah.
I didn't actually know that was a coping strategy, but all of a sudden I thought, I know, I'll try and write a poem.
Wow.
And my poems are probably better now. They're certainly different, but I think they're more polished, because you have a different process of constructing it, and you create a strong visual image in your head, and then I put a set of subtitles under them so I can memorise them as well.
Wow, I just think that's amazing.
Absolutely love it.
So, talking about your motivational speaking, what are the key things that you speak about?
Well, for me, I just wanted to let people know that when something difficult happens to you, it doesn't mean it's the end of your useful life. And there's a lot of people who have a visual impairment. I know I do. I'm raising money for the Northamptonshire Association for the Blind, and there's a big chunk of their service users who don't get out there into the world and do things. And that's something I'm looking to help with. So I'm walking 10 million steps at the moment, and I'm trying to persuade service users to come and join me.
Oh, wow.
And that's where my speaking goes. It's like, if something happens to you, then it's not an end. It's just a change of direction. So the message is growth in adversity.
Yeah, okay. That's fantastic.
And sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you. It was just that when you said end of your useful life, that's such a theme that's run through this show, that people said about retirement. It's not,
Yes.
it's not the end.
No.
It's just the end of that bit. What does it really mean? It just means you've stopped working.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And that's beautiful. And it's not the end of your useful life.
That's really important, because I remember seeing Diana Nyad on her TED Talk after she'd done that incredible swim from Cuba to Florida Keys. And she said at the age of 64, she was in no doubt that she was in the prime of her life. And I'll be 61 on Monday, and I'm energised. There's loads of things I want to do.
It's
lovely.
brilliant. That's motivational in itself. Just that right there.
Yes, exactly that.
I love it. So, you've just kind of touched on a lot of that, how you hope to inspire others, but what are the ways that you use... Oh.
It happened! This is live TV!
There we go.
Too excited.
I know, there's just so much I want to learn from you. You're incredible. How do you hope to inspire others?
By getting out there into the world and doing things. It's about facing fear. I was speaking to a gentleman, an author of several books, who's now totally blind, and he was talking about embracing the fear and getting out there and doing things, because that's essentially what's stopping us doing it. So I'm talking about catching a bus and making a train journey, getting out there and walking, shopping on your own, and getting used to asking for help, and teaching people how best to help you, which in most instances isn't grabbing your arm and whisking you across the road. But being polite when you're refusing and saying thank you very much, you can help me if we do it this way, and that educating people as well as to how best to use the resources that are available. So I've learned Braille over the last 16 months, which is an old technology, but I thought by doing that it would also keep my brain active and give me a step forward. And then on the rare occasion when there's Braille on a lift button or in a sensory garden somewhere, I can read it. And so that's the next plan is to maybe wear a GoPro while I'm out there walking and doing things.
Brilliant. That's a great idea.
And then I can tell people about some of the challenges that I face, which are scooters abandoned in roads, e-scooters abandoned, cars parked on pavements, people walking towards you with their head buried in a mobile phone, for example.
It's really interesting because I don't think the world is set up for somebody with any visual impairment at all.
No.
I remember once I got a corneal ulcer in one eye, and then I got conjunctivitis in the other, which kind of knocked out my sight. And as it was coming back, I was still trying to do things. I remember thinking how difficult this was because I couldn't see the signs. I couldn't see that I wasn't driving, I promise. But what things could be changed? What do we need to know out there really for signage and things like that?
I think if there were an audio element to signage, and I don't know how possible that would be. There's a great adaptation on pedestrian crossings that not a lot of people know about. There's a little spinny wheel underneath the where it tells you to wait. You put your fingers underneath, and there's a knurled coil that spins round, and as soon as it starts spinning, the green man's appeared. So adaptations like that. But if you could have something that said walk, but once again, there's an element. If there's lots of crossings in close proximity, you don't know whether you need to walk or it's the crossing next to you, which is why the bleeps are disabled on crossings when they're all in close proximity.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. Yeah.
But certainly some joined up thinking, and I think electric cars need to have some sort of warning device as well.
Absolutely.
Because now they're almost they're stealth-like.
Silent, yeah.
They are. They're quite dangerous for that reason.
It's like when we talk to anybody who advocates for their community group, if you fix it for one community group, you fixed it for all of us.
Yeah.
We could all know when there's a Tesla coming up behind us, that will really help.
Absolutely.
And it'll help drivers as well. Carl, you're staying with us, and we're going to have another look at another of your videos of you in action.
Please give a very warm welcome to Carl.
Anxiety, fear, panic. Adam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests and friends. What emotions do you get when someone says, "Do you fancy coming up here and saying a few words?" One social anxiety website put public speaking as fourth in the list of phobias behind death, heights, and spiders. But I'll let you into a little secret. I'm nervous too. I've got butterflies in my stomach. But I've chosen to reframe it as excitement. That same excitement that I got when I used to open the batting for Weekly and Walkton Cricket Club. The same excitement when I went for a deadlift PB at the gym. The same sort of excitement as when I scuttled across the bar to speak to that lovely lady over there. So, I'd like to talk to you about being on this stage, setting foot in the fire and feeling the flames lick around your feet. Because there's nothing quite like it. That feeling when you finish a speech and you get that massive hit of dopamine, it just feels amazing. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about 3 things that I've learned about public speaking. Notice the pause. Have you ever heard a commercial radio station, and at the end of that there's a little disclaimer that says you've got to be over 18 and it's subject to terms and conditions and blah, 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 not available, not applicable in Northern Ireland, etc. And some people, they come up here and they rattle their speech off at that pace. They're nervous, you're nervous, and the whole thing falls flat. So I would really, really, really urge you to slow down. Let people absorb all those rich words that you're using. It's a big effort to come up here, so let people appreciate every word you say. If you've got a list of topics, 1, 2, 3, the most important point, and pause to let it sink in. That increases the clarity of your speech. The next thing I'd mention is the rule of 3. In literature, events, characters, and things come in 3s. And we all know about this, right back from our childhood. 3 blind mice. Rub-a-dub-dub, 3 men in a tub. 3 little pigs. Goldilocks and the 3 bears. Location, location, location. I wrote a piece called Treadmill in which I talked about the flip, turn, curl of Virgin pages. Perhaps you remember at the start of my speech when I mentioned anxiety, fear, and panic. And I also told you that I was going to mention 3 things that would help your public speaking. People love it. Next time you speak to someone, use the rule of 3. It will really help. So finally, I'm going to talk about audience engagement. That's you engaging with me and me engaging with you and you and you. Now, I've got a bit of a problem here. I can't see any of you. So I wonder if you'd do me a favour, after the count of 3, if you just shout out your first name. 1, 2, 3. Oh, which one of you is Beyonce? I've engaged you now. Asking questions adds to engagement. Who here likes ripe bananas? Who here likes red wine? Who here has been to Italy? Thank you. Eye contact. Not applicable to me, obviously. If I were to make eye contact, I would have to get so desperately close to this person in the front row that, well, Boundaries. So audience engagement, and you'll know whether you've got it or not. I've got some laughter tonight. I've got some acknowledgement. I've got some hands being put up in the air, which is great. So I'm hoping that's helped. Let me take you back 103 days ago. I caught the X4 at 9:06 from Kettering, the 10:48 train from Northampton to Milton Keynes, and I took my first few faltering steps into Milton Keynes Confident Speakers. And yes, I was nervous. Maybe terror. And I gave a table topics talk on confidence is a skill. And Toastmasters has taught me some new skills, which I've honed very quickly. Now I feel I'm striding towards my goal of being an inspirational public speaker. And I'd love you to experience the same benefits. Confidence, clarity, connection. Thank you very much for listening.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters After Hours. We're here with Carl Peach and we're talking about your own journey to becoming a motivational speaker and revisiting your creative writing after losing your sight in May 2023. But now we're going to turn to picking your brains about your work, because this is something a lot of us want to know. How do we become a motivational speaker? Because we hear about this, we see it on LinkedIn, and everyone thinks they can do it, but I don't think it's quite as easy as that. So, Carl, please, what are your top tips?
I do genuinely think that everyone can be a public speaker. Mm-hmm. We tell stories, and that history of storytelling is all about what public speaking is about. Mm. So, telling a story about a football match in the pub to your friends, or in another circle or an environment, is the start of public speaking. Yeah. We've just started a group in my hometown called NN Clear Speakers, and we've invited people to come and hone their public speaking skills. But more than that, it's about their communication skills. Yeah. So when you're there in the fire, feel the fire flicking around your feet and wondering what to say, it puts you in that scary safe space, so you can try it out and get some feedback from other people. And the more you do it, it's like a muscle that grows.
Mm. And some people seem really natural at it. My dad was a natural storyteller, but we used to say he's holding court. You know, it's just got that thing. Yeah, but not everyone has that.
It is something you can acquire with practice.
Mm. Okay.
And the best way to endear yourself to people is to listen as well. I know that's not a skill that you would acquire on a public speaking stage, but you need to establish that rapport, that connection.
Yes.
It's like us having a conversation here. Instead of me having a conversation with two people, I'm having that conversation with 200, and doing it by making eye contact with someone, asking questions, sharing a joke with someone who drops a clipboard, for example.
Yes.
And then it's
he's never going to forget it.
Nope.
Sorry.
I'll be that.
You're that person.
That cut from the studio.
Sorry, sharing a joke.
But it's that type of thing that would endear you to the audience, make you seem authentic.
Mm. Yeah.
And the best piece of advice I could possibly give is to slow down. There's the temptation when you get put in that difficult position and you're asked to say a few words. It's that primal fear, that fight or flight gets you in there, and it just disables everything. Mm. If you take a few deep breaths, clench your core, lower your centre of gravity, and pause, the pause will seem like an eternity for you as the speaker. But to the audience watching, it's barely a glimmer. They won't even notice it. They'll just notice that you feel calm and relaxed, and that they'll feel calm and relaxed at the same, and that connection will grow.
Wow, great tips.
It really is. And it is about the rapport in the room. And actually, even if you can't see the audience, you can feel it. You've got to be open to those senses, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I do feel I have this sixth sense now when I can't see that when something's going right, or even if it's going badly wrong, moving away from the public speaking, I was followed on one of my charity walks, and I knew I was being followed. I mean, the guy was a long way behind me, but I had that sense and was able to sort of take evasive action.
Oh my goodness.
That's worrying.
That's frightening. Sorry, what happened?
Yeah.
I was walking. I was doing a charity walk in Northampton, and I'd got off the bus and was walking 200-300 metres to the start, and I clocked this guy standing outside a shop. He was a big unit. That's what we say locally, a big unit. He was probably 6'10", I reckon.
Wow.
He was standing outside a tanning shop, and I imagined he was some sort of promotional statue. Like they have butchers with blue aprons on and stripes, don't they?
Yeah.
I thought he was probably advertising the tanning salon or something. But he started to move, and then I realised he was a real person. And I just had this gut feeling that after a minute or two that he was behind me. Gosh. So I dived into a shop, bought some random purchases, and then I was queuing at the shop. He was stood right behind me.
No.
So I immediately thought, well, I'm going to keep my phone and my wallet zipped into my trousers.
Absolutely.
And then I just reached into my rucksack and pulled out some loose change.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, if I was a target, I was no longer such an attractive target.
Yes.
When I turned around, he'd gone.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh.
Very quick thinking of you.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think that also, in a way, kind of leads me on to my next question about mistakes you notice in the public speaking context, but it kind of relates to what you're saying, Jude, about people not knowing what to do. People think, for me, they seem to think, oh, motivational speakers speak in this way, so I need to speak in this way. But I think people lose a lot of authenticity. So, Carl, could you talk to us about some of the mistakes you notice other people make, not just in how they speak, but maybe what they choose to speak about, the manner in which they do it, all of those personal little nuances?
Filler words are an important aspect. A little while ago, I said and it cut like a dagger for me because I spent all my time trying to eliminate them with stop, pause, think, go, and whatever. But you do notice, if you listen even on to radio broadcasters, journalists, interviewers, they punctuate all of their texts with like, so.
Yes.
As I said, yep, no, yeah, no, and things that are non-productive words. So spend a lot of time just talking, just recording yourself on a mobile phone, listening back to yourself. And slowing down has an incredible impact. If you're not sure what to say, don't fill it with an a like or whatever. Just fill it with pause, and adds that little bit of gravitas and it makes you sound so much better. So that's the main thing I would say. Speaking too quickly. Once again, when you're in that pressure situation, you want to speak quickly and get it over and done with.
Yes.
And a bit of vocal variety.
Yeah.
So, if you want to just tuck someone in and just engage with them, you can drop your voice to a whisper. Or if you've got an important point to make, just raise your voice and make some motion. So if it's a strong point, then bang your fist. And that bit of vocal variety really helps. Otherwise, it's just monotone, and you've got it's like flatlining.
Yes, yeah, and people tune out.
They do, yes. I'm not a fan of shouty speakers. I'm really not a fan of shouty motivational speakers. It's very, very preachy, and it's not a style that I engage with at all. And I try not to do that. I just try and draw people in, and if there's something that I say that they can recognise in their life, then I feel I've made a connection.
Absolutely. Well,
Beautiful.
you're speaking, very calmly and quietly now, but you're extremely engaging.
Oh,
so
thank you.
you don't have to be a shouty person to get people to listen to you.
Absolutely.
No, you have a really great style, I think. So how do you develop that experience, and how did you start to have invitations and gigs to speak?
First of all, performance poetry, that was the catalyst for me becoming a public speaker. I started writing and performing my own poetry possibly 9 or 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
You're familiar with my friend Kezabel. She ran a creative writing group, and I became a member of that.
Oh, lovely.
And then started performing at open mic nights, and literally the first time I performed, I had my head buried in my book and read the whole thing without looking up. My daughters had come to watch me, and they said, "Oh, you were fabulous, Dad," and I knew I was.
Oh,
it was dreadful. Every syllable had gone into that book, and nobody heard it. I made eye contact with no one. But just taking that first step, you learn. You watch people who are competent and have had years of experience, and you just pick up little tips and tricks from them. And then you feel confident with sharing a little joke with someone in the audience and whatever, and that adds that authenticity or connection. And more recently, I've offered to speak to local groups, Women's Institute, Rotary clubs, Lions, business networking communities, and it might only be for 10 minutes or something, but that practice. Record yourself on the phone, put yourself out there, write something. Even if you go to an open mic event and read somebody else's material, give you that level of experience. And I think it's really important to memorise it. That's been vital for me since I started memorising my poems out of necessity, of course. It's enabled me to connect with the audience because I'm not looking down.
Yes.
My safety net's gone, so I can connect with you and that person there, and it makes a real difference.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can really see that.
But here's the caveat to that: don't memorise your whole speech. Memorising a poem and be able to recite it and engage with the audience there's a world of difference between that and memorising a 40-minute keynote. Once you start memorising your keynote, you lose that authenticity.
That's really interesting.
Yes.
And you know more about this than
Well,
I do.
I was actually going to say with TEDx, they force you to memorise it.
Yes.
Oh.
The only person they didn't force was me because I was teaching, so I couldn't actually memorise it. I had to memorise the first segment,
Yes.
and what I noticed was every speaker had been drilled and drilled and drilled that when the audience laughed, they didn't know how to stop, or if they did stop, they lost their place. So I think there is a problem with memorising too much because you're memorising to nothing, and then
Yes.
suddenly you put human contact and interaction in, and it can become
changes
quite difficult for you to continue then.
Yeah.
That was a very important tip that I learned from Richard McCann. Richard McCann is a brilliant public speaker with over 20 years of experience, and he heard me speak at one of his master classes, and he said that my performance was too rehearsed, too polished, too lyrical and too poetic. And I'm thinking, well, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at poetry. And since then, I've deliberately planned less for my talks. I've had a few bullet points, and I know my subject.
Yeah.
Whether it be growth and adversity or public speaking or whatever subject, I know the subject well. But it's better to have a bullet point memorised, and then you can go with the flow. And if that eliminates any chance of you forgetting your speech, because if you forget where you are halfway through, you're just frozen there and you don't know where to go.
Yes.
You're waiting for a prompt or hoping you'll remember where you'd left off. Whereas if you're unprepared, and that sounds awful, unprepared, less prepared, I think is probably the best way of describing it, you do sound more authentic and you build that connection.
Yeah.
And that was a very important piece of advice that I was given.
Brilliant.
When you were saying, he said this, and this, and I would have said, sod you then.
I was thinking that. I could feel that from you. Audrey would have said,
well, get stuff.
Yeah.
No, I think that I absolutely do agree because I think that authenticity, but I never considered it in the chance to connect, actually.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I'm going to take with me.
It's a good point. Yeah.
So that conversational style, it's really important.
And when you start out, especially, how important is it that you align your speaking engagement with your own values?
I think it's vitally important.
Mm.
I think it's once again it's like having a prepared speech word for word. You sound inauthentic.
Yeah.
And however good an actor you are, I think people will see through you if you're saying something that doesn't ally to your core message.
Yeah.
My message of growth in adversity, I've lived that. so I will sound authentic. I've got lived experience of walking through busy streets, catching public transport, having difficult interactions with people, asking for help and whatever. So I think it is vitally important that whatever you're speaking allies closely to your beliefs.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And it's so hard right at the beginning because you want to accept every engagement possible.
Yes.
And then you're suddenly thinking, wait a minute, I'm delivering this speech to this group of people whose work I absolutely do not believe in,
No.
or they want you to say something along this kind of topic and you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So,
and the worst thing in the world is you make a good job of that as well.
Yeah.
And then you're chasing the filthy lucre, and you're taking other engagements that don't really align with your core values.
That's, huge.
And then you're sort of selling your soul after that, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
Yes, brilliant.
and I thought I knew public speaking, so this is really great, Carl, really, really informative. We're keeping you with us and we'll be back just after this. A world without the arts is one without confidence, creativity and community, and yet funding has been reduced every year. Arts programmes have been shown to benefit social inclusion and well-being, particularly for marginalised groups, with projects fostering a sense of belonging, cultivating mutual understanding and breaking down social barriers and isolation. Participation in arts programmes can help boost confidence and open doors to opportunities that may otherwise be inaccessible. Click Arts Foundation offers grants up to £2,000 for grassroots arts projects twice a year, with our community arts experience trustees meticulously scoring each project on impact and sustainability. To date, we have supported craft and visual arts projects, dance, drumming for wellbeing, and preservation of heritage and culture. If you share our passion, not just for maintaining the arts themselves, but contributing to the many benefits it can bring, please consider making a donation to Click Arts Foundation registered charity. Welcome back to Mental Health Matters After Hours. We're here with Carl Peach and we're talking about motivational speaking, speaking errors and writing speeches. And please do go back to listen to Carl's life story because he went blind in May 2023 and that changed his career trajectory completely. So if you've just tuned in, please go back and watch the beginning of this show as well. Now, Carl, what makes for you a good speech and what makes a bad speech?
Okay. A bad speech will be difficult to understand. It will have unnecessarily complexity.
Yes.
It will try to cover too many different things. It will try to be all things to all people. It will have slides that are crammed full of text. And the audience will leave feeling really confused. That, for me, is a bad speech. I've seen some bad talks. I covered a conference for one of my clients and had to provide a report on it. And one lady stood behind a lectern, clearly terrified, and read a whole speech from PowerPoint.
Oh no.
It was literally death by PowerPoint.
Oh no.
Oh.
And you could see the people switching off, their heads dropping. One or two who sat near the back left. And if you're unfortunate like me who sat at the front, you had to tolerate that for the whole 45 minutes. And then there were no questions at the end. Nobody wanted to prolong the end anymore.
Please make it stop.
It's like teacher training meetings.
Yes. Absolutely.
Sorry, carry on. And
I was just going to say, the other things that I don't like from the speech, and this is from a personal point of view, is where the speaker is too self-centred, too me-centric, and doesn't engage with the audience. Okay, they'd like to know your life story, but they'd also like to know how it relates to them. So asking the questions, have any of you ever experienced this, and waiting for a show of hands. Although they might not genuinely be interested in that, it's a way of drawing the audience in and thinking, oh yeah, I remember when that happened to me. And then you're like the speaker. You can appreciate what he's saying and you can tune into it. So someone being too me-centric, and as I've already said, someone being too shouty. I'm not there to be preached at. Someone's going to throw me a few crumbs, and I'm going to like some of them. From a 45-minute keynote with 15 minutes of Q&A, if somebody takes away one little snippet that can change their life, then that's success for me.
That's really good. So what would you do to make that into a good speech? What are there any key things you can distill into tips?
Reduce the complexity.
Yeah.
I think from Toastmasters we've learned the power of 3. If you can tackle 3 things during your speech, and literally a maximum of 3 things, the 3 things can be subdivided in and have different anecdotes and stories. But simplicity. Make your slides simple. A 1 word on a slide to emphasise the point you're making.
Yeah.
A picture that is compelling with people in it, preferably. And what else? Bit of humour.
Yeah, can go a long way.
Helps.
And sometimes self-deprecating humour as
Yes.
well. That always works really well. So even it's not disrespectful to other people with a visual impairment, but if I'm use self-deprecating humour about my difficulties, about buying the wrong thing from a store, for example, or the lady who I asked for help and she just pointed me to aisle 3. That type of humour does engage with the audience, and have a clear message, a strong opening, clear message, and then emphasise what you've said again at the end, and people will remember you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. And relating to that, is there a balance between sort of the technical side of the speech and the artistic presentation with which you perform?
Yes. It's really important because your audience will have a technical background in a lot of instances.
Yes.
And I don't think you should try and outdo them, learning about their industry too much and trying to teach them to suck eggs, as it were.
Yes.
I think you should make some general points and make them in an interesting and entertaining way, but not tune into the nitty-gritty, because technical aspects of speech writing, yes, they're important, and it's a tightrope walk, because as earlier, if you're waxing too lyrical and being too poetic, then you appear disingenuous and you have that disconnect. So yeah, that's a fine dividing line, and it's only something you get from experience, and you will flop on occasions.
Yeah, no, I think I love that, because I love your point about don't teach them their job.
No.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that, and you panic, because I know sometimes I had to give a speech not a speech, I was training at the Guild of Psychotherapists, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, I'm a psychologist, I'm not a psychotherapist, and immediately you start thinking, oh, how do I say this, because I need them to listen to me. Luckily I didn't do that, but yeah, I get that fear.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line, as you say. So what would be your top tips then for the whole process, I guess, from writing and then delivering your speech? Have you got a couple of tips that you employ?
Keep it simple. Simplicity is the key. Don't use complex words. If you appeal to the lowest common denominator, and I'm not disrespecting any audience member or anything, but you want them to understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You also accept that not every member of the audience will have English as their first language.
Yes.
So don't wax lyrical. Don't use complex words. Don't use jargon. Don't use acronyms.
Okay.
Simplicity is key.
Yes.
Have a strong opening. Maybe ask a question. And tackle your nerves. Everyone gets nervous. If you're not nervous when you start a public speaking engagement, then you should probably give up, because that's once you're blasé about it, it will show in your performance.
Yes.
So take some deep breaths, clench your core and your buttocks, and lower your centre of gravity, and hands as well. Don't just fold your hands. Don't put them in your pocket. Don't keep them by your side. Keep them here, and try and move them between your waist and your neck, and that shows confidence. And open palms as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say it makes you seem more open if you use your hands in that way.
It's really interesting, because when I was teaching, always did that. I did pat palms down, because it's very much about, right, you're going to sit down.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very control, and it can feel when you're an adult watching another adult give a speech to you and they start doing that. No.
You know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Why? Yes.
So that was the feedback I had from one of my Toastmaster speeches. I was talking about engagement, and I was talking about engaging with you and you and you. And my evaluator said, maybe you should be engaging with you and you and you. It's less threatening and more open, as you were saying.
Such a subtle difference, but it makes a big difference in your gesturing.
And when you learn, you learn about the power of body language.
Yeah.
So in Toastmasters, we talk about the past in that direction, and we talk about the future in that direction, as if you're reading a book from the start of the line to the end of the line, and that's the direction of time travel, as it were. And if you're thinking of something, then you would look up as though you are actually imagining it. And those little quirks, they really resonate with the audience, and they know you're a good speaker, but they won't know exactly why. But that guy was great.
Yeah.
I love the subtleties about it. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
And that past to the present's a big thing, because that's how I have to choreograph when you're facing your audience. You need to remember it's their left and their right, not yours.
Yes.
And so for you, your past is actually future, but your audience is seeing it in the past, and it means
that's so
I can't
interesting.
give directions in a car because I have no idea what left or right
You're
is
doing it
anymore.
backwards. I was just thinking, you're saying, let's just explain that, because you're saying left to right, and I'm thinking, well, I'm sure that's right to left. But that makes sense. Yes, I was sitting in front of you, so I should have realised that.
I had the same dilemma. I was describing a photograph to my audience. I was doing a talk the week before last, and I could visualise the photograph, and it was as though I was holding it there and describing it to the audience, and I had to turn round and imagine that because I was in this photograph, I was stood on the right, but I was standing it, and the photograph was effectively in front of me, and then we had a whole 20 seconds where I was trying to orient myself and say, no, I'm here and he's there.
It's like Joey being in the map. In London.
Yes, standing in the map and then orientating himself.
In French, it's a French reference. Wow. Oh, I mean, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. How can we find out more about you?
I have a website.
Okay.
It's carlpeach.co.uk.
Okay, thank you.
I'm also on LinkedIn.
Great.
And Facebook, although LinkedIn will be my primary source of social media activity.
Okay.
But if you send me a message on the website, I will respond very quickly. There's a contact form at the bottom, and that's my preferred form of contact.
Through your website?
From my website, yes.
All right, brilliant. carlpeach.co.uk.
Spot on.
Lovely.
Fantastic. I wanted to talk about something slightly different but related to what our speaker has been talking about. And this is when you're using slides for PowerPoint. We know, don't use loads and loads of slides. People do switch off. Now, I, as a psychologist, talk a lot about something called attention splitting versus multitasking. And multitasking is when you are doing two different skills at the same time. So that might be you're running and you're listening to music. You are not trying to have a conversation whilst writing an email. That's using two cognitive skills at the same time. That's known as attention splitting. There is one more that can come out when it comes to PowerPoints, and that is a form of attention blocking. And what can happen if you're a little bit like me, a bit sort of a type A personality, you look at the screen, and instead of listening to the speaker, if all the stuff is written on the screen, you are going to read it all off the screen yourself. You are going to completely block out whatever the speaker is going to say because you're too busy reading what's going on, and then you can't possibly listen to them. And that little tip was given to me by Matt Hames, and he works for 3 Enrollment, and he talks a lot about marketing and writing your speeches like you're writing a billboard. So take that tip away, and remember, if you're putting too much information on there, certain personalities, they're not going to listen to a word you're saying because they're too busy reading it themselves. Well, we've reached the final part of our show. Carl, it's been such a pleasure and privilege chatting with you.
I've really enjoyed it, thank you.
I've learned so much. I mean, there's so many things to talk about. This is the bit where we like to reflect on everything so we can start processing things. And we talk about what we've taken away. So I guess for me, it's that reminder of the importance of connection. You forget it's so key because when we're doing this to a screen, sometimes you forget the audience because you kind of have to?
Well, unless we have a live audience, we don't see you, but
we know you're there.
Yeah, we know you're there, and you know there are people you do leave comments sometimes, so there is that engagement kind of afterwards, but it's not the same as speaking to a live audience.
Yeah. What about you?
I just sitting here in awe of anyone who can speak in public, literally, because I just can't do it.
That's interesting. Why?
Carl, you described it really well when you said that people just lose, everything goes from their head. I mean, when it happens, when I'm in front of people like that, it's almost like I have no senses. I can't see the people there, I can't hear, there's this massive rushing in my head. Whatever comes out of my mouth is just rubbish. It's like I just forget that I'm a human being. So it's really strange, and I'm in awe of anyone, like both of you do that. You both stand up on a stage in front of hundreds of people or even more, and you speak coherently and you say funny things and engaging things.
But yet you can do the show.
I mean...
Transfer the skills, girl! Transfer the skills!
Maybe I need to learn how to stand on a stage and speak. I don't know.
It is the same thing, but your point about asking the question. I remember, and we've shown this, it was James O'Neill who did a speech about diabetes. And he opened with how many people have a diagnosis of diabetes. And actually what was interesting was not just the rapport that you created, the fact that half the audience put their hands up, and we were really surprised it was that many.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great tip. That rapport is really important.
Yes, I think so. Because immediately you've got the engagement of, well, half the people anyway.
Yes.
And then the other half are engaged because they're just thinking, wow. Yeah, exactly.
I bucked the trend because rather than a show of hands, I ask people to shout out because I can't see the hands.
And people love to do that as well, don't they?
Yeah, and it gets them going as well, it warms them up.
Yeah.
Oh, Carl, it's been such a pleasure, and you are going to close with one of your poems today, so we're really, really lucky. We're going to hand it over to you, Carl.
This is the first poem that I wrote without sight. It was composed entirely in my hospital bed, and it's called The Beast. She slithers through selfish bloat, blood awash, her barbarous tongue coiled in heinous lash, to strike with spite and malicious intent, with wounding words her bitter spleen to vent. A formless fury, despicable, wild, in the frozen gaze of a stiff-backed child. And now the sated beast, restored to calm, administers her maternal balm, turns sour. The clock has stopped. Memories run too deep. Acid rain dreams drip, sear through shattered sleep. In the moon-washed pallor of frigid graves, her fears hang and fester like shackled slaves in dank dungeons, still waiting for the light, or the lone bell tolls in the deep, dead night, where cruel terrors lurk and demons linger, and blank shadows point, a judging finger. But there's truth in dawn's nurturing bosom, an infusion, a bridge across the chasm. Her feet firmly planted, lungs set to burst. She's readied for action, life, come do your worst. Her rapier-like pen dripping black ink, cutting and thrusting, ne'er pausing to think. Each word tends a wound, each page heals a scar. Her spirit grows stronger, hour after hour. Truth is anointing, her courage it grows. History is calling to banish her foes. But the lair of the beast is bare, forlorn. No victims remain for anger or scorn. So her nature nurtures tiny shoots, with warmth and kindness right down to the roots, to thrive and flourish when storms come their way, and hold them tightest when light leaves the day.